Hey there everybody, Joe here. Thanks for tuning in again. This is the final episode of Zoe's mural, so I'm so excited to finally be finishing it up. First, I want to tell you about this new channel that I'm very excited about. We've been uploading all of the real-time footage to this channel called Mural Joe in Depth. The purpose of this channel is to provide a library of videos that you can reference anytime you want and see how any part of the painting was painted. Rather than me take the best moments out of it and edit a short video and try to make a short how-to video out of it, why don't I just post everything? Because I know that as a fellow student of painting, it's most valuable just to see everything so that I can see how it happened and ask my own questions. And so I want to make that available to you. This is a subscription channel, so the cost of it is about the price of a cup of coffee per month. That's my gauge that I'm using. Now, the reason I'm saying a cup of coffee instead of a dollar amount is because YouTube has made this cool platform that allows me, the creator, to price things per country, so I can make a price that is appropriate for the economy that is in your country. I'm very excited about that because I want my research to be available to everybody who wants it and appreciates it. And I have enjoyed so much this free channel and the interaction that we have here. This is by no means a replacement for this free channel. This is a thrill for me to show off my skill and entertain you viewers. This is a huge privilege for me. I just want to make a resource available for those who just are trying to learn the trade and just want to see everything. That's the purpose of this channel. So that if you wonder how I painted that leaf that's on that part of that tree, you can just go to that part. All the videos are organized and you can go to it. So if you subscribe for a year, then there's a discount. And if you subscribe monthly, then I want to make it very affordable to you. If it says this is not available in your country, come back and just comment on this video and say, Joe, make this available in my country. It's just that we have to specifically set prices for each individual country, and I want to make sure that I do that appropriately. It's something that I care very much about. I'm so excited to finally be at the end of this giant project. Every project that I do feels like such a journey. I start with my initial imagined outcome and my expectations, and the actual outcome is always so different. The low point was definitely wrestling with those pine needles. Man, I was so frustrated having to redo something 3 or 4 times, especially when you're really trying to nail it for the video. Man, that just it just, you know, makes my nerves raw, and then I'm not doing the art as well anymore. But it is good to develop a tolerance for that exact kind of frustration. It's not always missing the mark for a video. Sometimes it's in front of a client. Sometimes it's in front of just people passing by if you're doing work in a public space. Man, I just can't tell you how important it is to just keep telling yourself, there's an answer, I'm gonna find it. And I'm not going to judge this situation by what I'm feeling right here in this moment. You know, you step back, you take a deep breath, you get some sleep, you come back the next morning, and you say, I'm going to find this answer. And, you know, we already went down this road. I already explained this a lot, so I shouldn't keep on belaboring this point. But I was very happy when I finally found that new technique of painting those pine needles. And so I'll definitely continue to use that in other paintings. You know, I think the high point in this mural, my favorite moment, was probably getting that foreground aspen tree finalized out. where it's just bending out over that little stream coming down. And once I had that and the stream done, I stepped back and I was looking, thinking, yes, this is what I wanted it to be. The light striking the tree and the water, and I ended up redoing the water 2 or 3 times, just like the other things. But I'm oftentimes so happy that I ended up redoing things. In the moment, I give a big sigh. Oh, I'm going to have to redo it again. And I feel frustrated. But I should know by now that in the end, I'm glad that I redid it. I mean, it's not really what we want in life, is to be able to do everything right from the start. The final result is not the ultimate goal. It is the measure of accomplishment according to the overcoming of the adversity. We need the challenge, and we need the process of overcoming the challenge. And so in redoing things and learning more, I should be glad that I've had the thrill of having a problem and then finding an answer and then seeing myself come out on the other side able to conquer a problem like that in the future. I think life might be pretty boring if everything was beneath my skill level. I need things that are a little bit above my skill level, so that always pushes me. Challenge, it sounds so generic when you say, I need to be challenged. But it is a valuable thing. I do need to be challenged, and that is exactly why. Because the process of overcoming and discovering that you're capable of a better thing than yesterday, the thrill of that, and finding out what you've been made, constantly making new discoveries of what you've been made to accomplish. That is the thrill of life. So every mural holds this thrill for me. I'm looking at it thinking, this is easy, that'll be easy, but this will be a hard part. And then I'm instantly, zoning in on that problem area. Now, how am I going to solve that? How am I going to do that? And if there's not a part like that in the project, I think that I instinctively just add something in. It must be so frustrating for my wife. I come home frustrated from a job. Oh, I decided to paint this thing and I don't know how to paint it and it's not going right. And she's like, you knew how to do everything. It was a simple job. You decided to add these things in. That is what I do. Yeah, I don't blame anybody. That must seem ridiculous, especially when, you have to see me be in a bad mood because the day's not going right. But it's just funny that I will always add those things in, even if they're not there. Because in the end, I want the pain. I need the suffering. Such an ironic thing about life, isn't it? So I'm very happy that Zoe's finally going to have her room back. And I've got a few little trinkets that I stepped on in the process of backing up to look at the mural that I need to replace for her. She was very patient in the process. And she even pointed out some things. Zoe knows her wildlife. She was like, deer doesn't have a snout that's that big. And, wherever there was something that didn't look quite right, she would definitely tell me. But she's very gracious. She's a very good customer to work for. And, I'm very thankful for my kids and my wife. They've always been my biggest fans and a huge support to me. Next will be Joseph's mural. We'll be moving on to a Harry Potter theme, and finally I'm going to be doing a person, and I'll be able to explain some of the things that I found very valuable in creating very natural skin tone mixed with lighting. All of the theory that I talk about with colors and how they mix really comes into play a lot when you're trying to do a surface like skin. It's not finished. I've heard it said that an artist's work is never finished, he just runs out of time. And that is definitely true for me. But I will continue to add little things to this mural as I have time, and continue to post the real-time footage on this other channel that I've created, Mural Joe in Depth. It's been a super huge privilege, a pleasure for me to post this and take you along for the journey. This is the first project that I have posted all of the developments along the way, and been able to do this kind of format, interacting with what you all are saying about it. And man, what a joy this has been for me to hear what people are saying, and hear the feedback and respond, and then paint more next week. It is fun to show off my work. Man, I love it. Timothy says, do you sign your murals after completing? Well, I feel like I'm supposed to, and so I do most of the time, but if we're being honest, I've forgotten many times. I'm sure there's many pieces out there floating around on people's walls that have no signature. So if you've got one of those murals, just give me a call. I'll come over and sign it. Noble Valerian says, good questions at the end there, especially about color. It's good to know that we're on the right track. Thank you for pointing that out. Jay Sullivan says, thanks for the clarification and the answer. Very helpful. I've been too worried about how much water can be added to paint. I love hidden stuff in paintings, photos, videos as well. You know, I love that too. I put like 17 different critters hidden in the True Blue NAU mural that I painted in downtown Flagstaff. And, you know, I always said to myself, I'm going to go back and hide more just for fun, because a lot of tourists walk that strip, and a lot of grown-ups and kids alike are eyeballing that mural. I thought it'd be fun to constantly be hiding new things. But you say you're going to do stuff and then you never get around to it, or at least that's the story of my life. So maybe one day I'll get over there and do that, among the other many things that I would love to improve about that mural. But anyway, that's all to say, I love doing that too. And when I have the time, I do try to hide little things. I think in Zoe's last mural, when she was just a little girl, we hid a little bunny rabbit and a little mouse. We had some little things in there that took some time to find. R equals 2 says, amazing again, thank you very much. What price range or days of work would a mural like this be? Okay, now this is a common question, and it's very hard to answer because the economies are different, and from town to town you have different expectations on what prices should be, and those kinds of things are always determined by the consumers. If people buy it, then it drives the price up. If people don't buy it, it drives the price down. So I don't know what the demand is for a mural in another town. When I was doing murals just as a contractor to pay my bills, just you know, your typical unknown artist, it's not like I was famous or anything, you know, and I was charging up to $50 per hour to just do it as a contractor, but that's completely based on comparing other contractor prices in this town. So it was comparable to something between like a plumber's hourly wage and a paint contractor's hourly wage, something in there. It's contracting, you know, it's on a wall. People aren't going to collect it, so that doesn't really make the value of a mural super high. So really, the price for me comes in where the labor is. How much labor does it take? And that's how I would always price it. But who am I to say what prices should be? I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. I say charge as much as you can. If nobody's biting, lower your prices. So the mural painting business is no exception to the rules of supply and demand in my mind. And I also know that, let me stop and answer the question. The days of work, this is like episode number 10, I think. And I think total hours, we might be up there around like 45, 50 hours. It's a significant amount of work. And so if you multiplied that by 50, 5 times 4, that's 2,500. That if you were to gauge it on that, that'd be a price that you might get out of some muralist out there. Please don't call me and ask me to do a mural for that price. So one more thing I want to say about that is I always found it valuable when going to a client's house to give a total price, so that there's no guessing on their part. What are the expectations going to be? And that takes some of the stress off right away. The way I would come to that price would be to think of the total time it's going to take me. So I'm thinking, okay, it might take me 30 hours to do this piece. It might take me 8 days, whatever it's going to take. And then I would say, but I know that I am going to fill up every single bit of that time. There's no possible way I'm going to get done early, because if I do get done early, I'm just going to use it as an opportunity to add more details into my work because it's my artwork. So I need to understand that I'm going to tell them that it's going to be 8 days, and I'm going to plan on working 9 or 10 days, right? I'm always planning it so that then I'm not defeated when that happens to me, and then I just price it accordingly. I don't say, well, it's going to take me 8 days, but probably 9 if we're being realistic, and so the price. No, you don't have to say all that. You just give the price that you know you'll be happy with at that worst case scenario, largest number of days. Don't ever think that you're going to get done before your projected timeline is over, unless you're a different kind of person than me that's okay with just not making your piece better when there's time left on the clock. Marcus says, wow, Joe, great job. I'm falling in love with that wall. I want to sleep in Zoe's bed. Well, that would be weird, but thank you for the compliment. No, I know what you mean. Thank you very much. That's nice. And that's one of the best compliments that I can get, because the purpose for me painting pictures is to, I'm taking my imagination and thinking, ooh, what kind of a place would be a place that I just want to be there? I mean, that's kind of my basis for every picture. So thank you. That's right in line with my goals. And I remember painting a pretty mountain forest scene at the hospital, also real similar content and similar reactions too. One guy said, oh, I want to camp out right there. And to me, that's a very nice compliment, so thanks. Andreas Crust says, hello, fellow perfectionists. Nice job with the water. Thank you. Max says, I love synthetic brushes. The one you had was a gold Taklon synthetic. All right, so that's good. I didn't know that. A type of polyester. They are great when you don't want brushstrokes to show for fine detail. Amazing work, Joe. Thank you very much, Mac, for that information. I'm sure that'll be helpful to others as well. So much of what I do is just trial and error, and those are the kind of details that I just don't pay attention to sometimes. So I appreciate you speaking up and giving that clarification. Maria Kellner goes on and adds to that, brushes that are colored synthetic, not white. Synthetic hold paint moisture better. The color they use for the fibers is coated. Great demo as ever. This tip was on Cheap Joe's channel. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Maria. Dustin Parsons says, I've enjoyed this series so much. Joe, is your daughter ready to have her room back? I know if it was my family, my kid would be having a hard time not having her space. Love your channel. I've learned so much. Thank you very much, Dustin. Yes, Zoe wants a room back. I've broken several of her toys, backing up to look at the mural and stepping on her little plastic toys. And I try to be the father figure and say, well, Zoe, you need to keep your room clean and these kinds of things won't happen. But the truth is, I need to own up to it, be sorry for breaking her toys. I stepped on them and broke them. So I'm going to have to replace a few little trinkets, but Zoe is very gracious and she is very ready to have her room back. But that's not to say that she is not enjoying every minute of seeing the mural come together also. Roe Fitzpatrick says, I'm delighted that I found your inspiring and articulate videos. Thank you very much for that compliment. I feel like I had to practice my articulation to say inspiring and articulate videos. Can't wait for next week's final in this series. Greetings from Kilcoy, Australia. Right on. Thank you for that shout out from Australia. Just a thought, Joe, says Mickey Wharton. There's usually moss on the rocks and water that shines through in the small waterfalls. This is such an awesome painting. Love it. Thank you very much for that suggestion. I think I should put some moss in there. We'll see if I have time. But I can guarantee this will not be the last time I touch this mural. Eric Killius says, my kids were super excited to hear you call out my name. So my next question is, what is the difference between using acrylic versus latex wall paint? I don't know, but they're often mixed, so the difference is not that big. But I do know this, when you buy tubes of acrylic paint, it's a higher ratio of acrylic and it preserves the brush strokes, the texture. And I don't believe that acrylic is nearly as stretchy as latex. So with wall paint, you can imagine a mix of the two things might do a good job at bridging over all of the imperfections of the wall. Maybe is not designed for preserving the texture of the brush strokes. And I believe latex is organic where it comes from. I might be wrong about that, but I've seen gallons of latex paint get very moldy over time. And acrylic, I think, has more longevity. So acrylic is the higher quality material, if you ask me. But as far as how they apply, they both thin with water and apply quickly with your typical paint contractor's brush. And I've used both. That's the most of what I know about that. Perhaps a lot more people out there know a lot more than I do about the exact difference between those two. Gilbert Grimm says, I'm curious. Since hearing you mention your own research, how you go about finding these things out, and how I may be able to learn these things by my own studies for more varied subjects. Thanks for all the great videos. I find them as entertaining as they are inspiring. Thank you very much, Gilbert, for that nice compliment. The way that I've learned, everything that I use in my artwork, because that's what it is for me. It's everything that I'm going to use my mind to remember. I want to be a tool that helps me to create what I'm imagining, to show my imagination to others. It's been just a ton of trial and error, but I think the key to the things that I've discovered over the years that have helped me is being sensitive to the patterns that I notice. I spend a ridiculous amount of time wondering about what I'm seeing. And so I have to tell you that I hardly ever watch TV in a way of relaxing and being entertained. That's not because there's some superiority to not watching TV. I'm not about that. When I do sit down to watch TV with my family, it's a good time. But I just spend a lot less time being entertained by the typical things and a lot more time being entertained about my wondering about the mystery of why what I'm seeing is happening. And when you spend a lot of time noticing the same things, you start to notice patterns. And I just started to notice that subtle shades of gray that happen on the edges of objects or in deep shadows have a distinct color that makes them look natural or unnatural. Sometimes shades of gray can trick your eyes and you're looking at a real scene, not a picture. You're looking out your window and you think you see an object, but then a minute later you're like, oh no, that's actually just a shadow. There's all of these mysteries of why we see what we see, and I've just been so fascinated by it. And as I started to notice things and then test them with my paintings and see, wow, this really is a learnable system, I started to get excited. When I started to get excited, I learned faster and I learned more. And for me, I've said this before, the the driving force that just keeps me engaged with the studying and the nonstop thinking is that I'm very inspired by the idea that God created us to ask the question, why? And if the question why exists, then an answer must exist somewhere. Just like if I'm hungry, then such a thing as food must exist. So when I started looking at everything around me in this light, I just felt purpose and closer to God than I had ever felt before. That's the best answer I can give, because I hate to disappoint with the, not giving you resources and things that I've read, but that's not the way I came about these things. It was observing and then going to trial and error experiments in my own space. I mean, at one point, I was in a dark bathroom with different colored lenses on flashlights, mixing yellow and blue light, saying, no way, that really doesn't make green. Why? Trying to figure out the system, And then I was reading an article on Wikipedia about Young's experiment and how wavelengths cross and make a pattern. And I just got way into that. So yes, I've read numerous articles on the internet, and those are all things that deserve to be tested. I don't just automatically trust everything I read, but that's why I post the things on my channel. I try to refrain from posting things that are just my theories and post the things that I've tested and found to work in my own paintings, so that I at least have this channel to point you toward as a resource. I believe that you can discover, there's a universe of mysteries out there that I have no idea about. And so there's no reason for me to believe that you are not every bit, if not more capable than I am, of going through the same process and discovering these things for yourself. I don't think it's just for me. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there, and I want to thank you very much for watching this whole project through. It has been a super thrill for me to take you along for the ride as I do an entire mural for the first time. So I'm going to be excited to start Joseph's mural next time. Hopefully I'll get to that next week, and he wants a Harry Potter theme. So we'll see what we can come up with on the sketch for his mural. So thanks for tuning in again. I'll see you next time.